fan base, our university, I'm sorry for the outcome. And, I know how much this game means to our team, to our individuals, coaches, players, everybody all involved, our past players, to our program. And, this is a game that there's so much excitement around and excitement for, and to come up short in this one is utterly disappointing in every way. I thought our guys, they battled. We just had too many mistakes. Miami did a good job. They did what they needed to do to win the game. They protected the football. They had some explosive plays. I thought our guys, we fell behind early. There was just some untimely, penalties, some mistakes that we made that was just a little too much to overcome there in the end. I thought our guys battled, in the fourth quarter. I believed, throughout that we would get a spark, that we would start to put it together, and they did. And but unfortunately, it was too little, too late, and weren't able to come out on top. But it's a locker room that's hurting. A lot of work and investment. Like I said, throughout the week. It's a 365 day a year game, and when you come up short in this one, it hurts. And as a coach, I have to be better. In helping continue to help to assist our guys. We eliminate some of the mistakes that were better in some of the key situations, and just to continue to lift them up and push them forward. And we will respond from this. Nobody wants to have to go through it, but these guys, they are going to fight, and they're going to continue to get better. And we have an opportunity here this next week to go make improvements and to showcase all that we are. And we've shown to be a talented team, and a team that is very capable. We made some mistakes tonight that definitely cost us.
First question will be Chris. The 4-8 decision early on in the game, can you just reflect upon it? And obviously Miami turned around on the next play, did some bang play for a touchdown.
Yeah, it was kind of on the brink of the thought process of where to go with that. Wanted to be aggressive. Felt good about the opportunities that we could have there. We've been good on fourth down situations. It's a little outside of field goal range. Potential of trying to pin them, but it was just distance-wise, I felt good about what we could accomplish. Obviously, you don't want to have the interception and the big return, and then the next play they scored, so that didn't go how anybody wants it to. But those are decisions that are made throughout the course of the game when it comes to what you want to do, and it was the one I made.
Brendan, how would you evaluate Tommy's performance? It seemed like he had to settle in for quite a bit of the game, and then finally did. What wasn't working early on, and what did work?
Yeah, it's sometimes in a game of football you go through the ebbs and flows. They did a good job. I thought the first drive, we were able to move the ball down the field. It's a couple good throws. Just fortunately not being able to finish in the end zone there. Kind of got a little off rhythm at times, and there were some opportunities, and there's you got to give credit to them. They created some pressures, and it's a challenging defense, in that regards, and I thought they did a nice job with what they were trying to do and accomplish to get him off the point. And then I thought he did settle down there later in the game, and he showed tremendous heart, tremendous fight, and was leading this team. And, Tommy, I believe in him. I believe in who he is and what he's about, and he went in and told the team right after that he takes ownership for all things that he does, and I respect him so much for that. And he's going to be an absolute leader in pushing with the response of this team. And But it's not all on him in any regards, and, you know, in everything that we can do, we can all push and be better. But, you know, he's a competitor, he wants to do it all for this team, and, you know, it was just, you know, some times where it wasn't quite in rhythm like he's been, and some of that you gotta give just credit to the opponent.
Go to Ira, over on your right.
You guys obviously did a pretty good job against the running game, but how much of their big plays in the passing game is a result of the emphasis on stopping the run, or is it not?
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, obviously there's, you know, we knew that we had to be aggressive in the run game. That's something they want to establish. We also realize that, you know, that there's gonna be vertical shot opportunities, and you know, it comes down to discipline with your eyes, you know, trust the technique, you know, it's that flea flicker that, you know, we were, you know, pretty confident we would see at some point, you know, there tonight, but you know, unfortunately, just you know, they were able to execute, and you know, they made the play. But you know, you can't, you know, in a game like tonight, I mean, you know, when you look at turnover margin, number one, it's something we talked about throughout the course of the week. You know, when you're -3, you know, 14 points off turnovers, it's a killer. And you know, we also knew the run game. That was something that we had to try to establish it. We had to try to stop it, and then, you know, obviously, as you know, the explosive play component of it, you know, we didn't have enough of them, and they got, you know, they had, you know, 2 or 3 that were kind of daggers, you know, throughout the night when you look back upon it. But you know, it's you know, things that we expected we would potentially see, but just didn't do a good enough job of stopping when they shut up.
Come back over here for Liam.
2 straight games, you mentioned it with the self-inflicted wounds and some of these turnovers. When you talk about response, what do you expect to see from the group when you guys go into practice and just throughout the rest of the regular season?
Well, I mean, you know, it's something that's being emphasized, but you know, with emphasis, there's got to be application, and you know, we can't lose the turnover margin. It's two straight games. We've had, you know, 3 turnovers. You know, we gotta get that fixed, and you know, it was you know, clear understanding and expectation for what we needed to get done, but you know, fortunately we didn't apply that well enough. And you know, there's a lot of things that can show up, and especially when it comes to an interception. I mean, there's a lot of different factors that go into that. It's protection, it's you know, location, it's, you know, route. Sometimes it's all different aspects that comes to, you know, what when anytime there's a pass intercepted. But you know, we had a couple balls that got to the ground. You know, one that was a fumbled, you know, that was a turnover, and then you know, another one that got to the ground. And so we got to be better there. And you know, it is the application of the things that are being emphasized, and you know, we just have to take a step there.
The impact of losing Mike, then, I guess, how difficult was that to lose him, and do you have an update on whether it's short term, long term, potentially?
I don't have an update. Not expecting anything long term when it comes to that, but you know, I mean, obviously, you don't want to lose anybody, and you know, but we had a plan in place, and you know, in tonight's matchup, it was, you know, magnified that much more, you know, just because of who you're going against, and you got, you know, 2 of the better ends in the country that they were able to create a little bit of pressure. I thought, you know, Adrian did a good job of being able to go out there and fight and compete, and you know, obviously Rizzy coming in, but you know, it definitely added to the challenge, you know, of what we were trying to do, and you know, we'll see where it all progresses with Mike.
Go over to Corey up here, right?
Like, how much of the, I guess, the moment do you think impacted the offense in the first half, as far as, it just seemed like out of character mistakes, whether it was a personal foul or interceptions, or even dudes trying to fight for extra yardage. I mean, it's a good thing, but it just seemed like mistakes that hadn't been happening. Any attribution to like nerves, or just the game itself, the moment
I mean,
itself?
you know, this game carries a great deal of weight, and you know, you know, everything you do is to prepare you for this, and you know, you got to be able to manage and handle that. I can't sit here and say, well, that's why this or that happened, but you know, I thought like even with the first drive, we moved the ball down the field, we put ourselves in position. Thought, there was opportunity, down there, but, unfortunately we got held to a field goal, and then, there were some spots within each of the next drives that, like I said, I mean, there were plays for the taking and just things that, we weren't, just good enough. And, there's obviously things that I'm sure players, coaches, everybody involved, we all like to have back, but, that's why you practice the way you practice, why you train the way you train, is so that in those big moments, in those times with great pressure or playing against talented opponents, man, that you rise above that. And so you figure try to find a million different reasons of why, but it's our job to get it fixed. And there's a heavy push for expectation here, and that's every day. That's practice field, weight room, nutrition, classroom, everything, social life. I mean, all things are challenging, guys. So that in these moments, our best shows up, and unfortunately that didn't happen to the level it needed to, and so we've just got to get better.
We've got time for a couple more, we'll go top right.
You mentioned turnovers, three today, 3 last Friday. Common theme in these close games. Tommy was just in here, he mentioned that you guys haven't really, had a team beat you. You guys have beat yourselves. Is that something that you kind of echo that sentiment? Is that something that in your mind you're like, this is the silver lining that we have for these losses?
Yeah, I'm not somebody that ever carries a silver lining for a loss. I mean, you win or you lose, and our guys, they competed, they fought, we've come down to really where it's been one possession at the end of the last 2 games, but at the end of the day, we didn't play well enough or coach well enough or execute well enough to get the victory. So I believe in the talent and the ability that this team has, but we've got to get better. And so it's there for our for what we do in our response and what we do with our preparation here this week to go apply the corrections so that we don't have to have this experience again.